Boldwood presents Look at Me Now, written by Simone Goodman and read by Imogen Wild. The moral right of the author has been asserted. This performance is owned by Boldwood. Surround yourself with people who believe in you, beginning with yourself. Chapter 1. Oops! Rushing into the television station where I work, escaping the demonic gale that's sweeping across London this morning, I slide delicately across the wet tiles inside the entrance. I say delicately, but it's more hope that I look like an accomplished ice skater as I clumsily regain my balance. Being a healthy size 14, I don't consider myself fat, I'm just not reed thin. There's a risk I've come off more like a comedian on a banana skin. Thankfully, no one other than Mitzi, our receptionist, is here to hold me accountable. Golly, Gracie, are you okay? Mitzi calls from across the foyer, where she's sitting behind the front desk, most likely reading a script. I'm okay, Mitzi. By all accounts, my near miss looked distinctly less than elegant. Laughing, I steady myself on the death tiles. It could have been worse. I could have toppled right over my own feet. It's only a short few hundred metres dash from Oxford Circus tube station to my workplace. Our studio's located in a narrow but deceptively cavernous Georgian building on Soho Square. My umbrella blowing inside out against the pelting rain and wind this morning, I covered the distance as quickly as possible. My dash, best described as a nippy jog, is the most exercise I've done in months. It's early January, the time for New Year resolutions. Possibly it wouldn't be the worst idea for me to consider joining a gym. I've been warning someone will break their bones on those tiles, Mitzi says. We could do with a non-slip mat here, I agree. Oh, we could do with a lot of things around here, Mitzi sighs. She reminds me of Daisy Lowe, the model. Dark hair, doe eyes, cherry red lips. Though her role is to welcome visitors, Mitzi looks the part for television. Like many people who work here, she yearns to be in front of the camera. I have my own show. But it troubles me more and more lately that I don't look like I belong. This isn't to say I don't have my finer points. Pragmatically speaking, we all do. What can I tell you? My eyes are sometimes so blue as to appear violet. Almond-shaped, they're generously framed with oodles of long, thick lashes. My dark locks cascade to below my shoulders, and at 33 years of age, I've not got a single grey hair on my head. My complexion is creamy, free of lines, and generally spots. But before you picture me as some uber-glamorous cross between a young Elizabeth Taylor and a brunette Katy Perry, bear in mind I'm the more robustly packaged, sometimes size 14 plus, version. Some days I fear I'm veering more into the territory of a Dawn French and Melissa McCarthy love child, without their comedy vehicles for kicks. But surely no one likes a thin chef. I host my own daily cookery show, Gracie Porter's Gourmet Get-Together. The title is a bit of a misnomer. It's impossible to prepare gourmet meals, haute cuisine of several aesthetically balanced and rich courses of food, within a short 30 minutes allotment of airtime. Notwithstanding that with preparation of the set, the ingredients and me, it takes almost a full day to pre-record every show that then airs across the whole of England, Scotland and Wales at 10:30 a.m. the following week. Also, there isn't much getting together with my format. I like to think I'm always engaging with my audience as they tune in to connect with me from the comfort of their own homes. But the original concept had me hosting the occasional special guest, other chefs, celebrities, and perhaps the more interesting politician. With none of us, including my producer Robin, moving in celebrity circles, with Westminster MPs otherwise occupied with their scandals, solicitations, and squabbling, and me reasoning that any chef who wants to be on television would surely want their own show, we failed to deliver. When no one pushed us, we let it slide. We don't even have a live audience. It's pretty much me and the crew who chow down after a recording finishes. On this basis, my cookery show has aired daily for almost a year and a half. Previously, I worked as a normal chef. I prepared mouth-watering meals in lovely places where people came to eat. When it comes to food, I'm a consummate professional. As far as television goes, I'm still cutting my teeth. From the beginning, both investment and expectation of our little cookery show has been low. Being at the bottom end of a long list of hot shows and hotter stars left me below the radar, and this has suited me fine. Things changed late last year after Titan Media, the US entertainment giant, acquired a large chunk of our relatively tiny UK operations. This afternoon at 3 p.m, I have a meeting with the American executives who now run things to discuss my future services to the company. It hasn't escaped me that not everyone summoned to such meetings returned from their New Year breaks. People have been literally disappearing from the studios in droves. And I know my ratings aren't the best. I don't disagree with Mitzi that things around here could be better. However, today is a day for putting the best, most confident and upbeat version of me forward. I'm sure things will settle down and everything will be fine again soon, I assure her. I put my wet umbrella inside a cotton shopping bag. Behind me, the front doors burst open. I turn to look. Shadowing the doorway, wearing her long, spectral black hooded cape, stands Zelda the Magnificent, our resident daytime television psychic. "Gracie," Zelda declares on seeing me. "Darling." Her voice is deep and melodic. Her accent is old Budapest enchantment. She's like a darker, earthier Jar Jar Gabor. "Please, stop for Zelda," she implores in her dulcet tones. "I have for you a vision." Pushing the hood from her head, Zelda releases a mass of black curls to topple down and over her shoulders. The curls are part of a voluminous wig. Rumours abound that underneath Zelda is completely bald. Rumours also abound that Zelda isn't merely old but ancient, 100 years and counting. Because these conjectures add to her mysticism, Zelda does little to squash such blather. Having once shared a dressing room, I know from my own eyes that her scalp is in fact covered with a short mop of white-grey ringlets, and, by the birthday card she received last summer, she isn't more than 80 years young. Closing the few steps between us, Zelda clasps my frigidly cold hands with her unseasonably hot fingers. She smells of sage, vanilla, and cloves. I breathe in her aroma. My mind drifts to thoughts of crispy sage in a burnt butter sauce, drizzled through ribbons of pasta, of vanilla pods in pots of clotted custard, of melt-in-your-mouth hot salt beef, boiled with cloves and juniper berries, and served thickly cut with mustard on rye. Shutting her eyes, Zelda's face wrinkles with whatever wizardry she's conjuring. Zelda, I'd rather..." I begin to protest. "My child, I see a gathering of dark clouds." Ignoring my attempt to dissuade her, Zelda begins her psychic vision. "I see a storm brewing." I don't need divine intervention to inform me of this. There are the pressures at work. At home, things aren't much better. This morning I endured another cold flannel wash at the bathroom basin after my boyfriend Jordan, again, used all of the hot water in our flat. During, I should add, another of his suspiciously long showers. By his indifference towards me lately, Jordan could better be described as my supposed boyfriend. To fill you in a little bit, we met the same night I won the contract for the show. After a whirlwind courtship of the best sex I've ever had, 18 months on, our physical connection has fallen by the wayside. All less of him no longer being my hunk of burning love, and more Jordan no longer seeing me as his mi amore. On top of which, although we live together, we barely talk. Whatever friendship we shared has flatlined alongside my boyfriend's libido. There's the excuse that Jordan works ridiculous hours as an advertising executive, but things are so distant between us we haven't properly discussed what is, or more to the point, isn't going on in our relationship, let alone my professional challenges. Ugh, so much rain. Zelda clucks her tongue and shakes her head sadly. Over her closed eyelids is a poorly applied pale purple eyeshadow. I don't believe in clairvoyance, but I love a character. I adore Zelda. Whenever I cook anything like a Hungarian goulash or a sweet baklava pastry, Eastern European dishes that I know she'll enjoy, I set aside a plate for Zelda. Outside, lightning flashes, followed by a thunderous crack. A gust of wind slams the front doors shut. Zelda's emerald eyes pop open. I sigh my relief that we appear done. Holding up a bejewelled finger, Zelda begs of me a moment more. She fumbles amongst the pockets of her cape and then inside her patchwork bag, her charm bracelets tinkling. Eventually, she withdraws her hand and slips a small pink crystal into my open palm. "To help you a little bit," she says. With a warm expression, Zelda shrugs. I clasp the stone, smooth and surprisingly warm inside my hand. "Quieten the storm." Zelda gently taps my chest with her bony finger. "Quieten the storm inside," she murmurs. "Then all will be well." And with that, Zelda the Magnificent, resplendent in her sweeping satin cape and semi-precious trinkets, sweeps across the reception and disappears into the labyrinth of recording studios and meeting rooms beyond. "Can I see?" Mitzi begs, intrigued. I walk over and show her the small, smooth crystal, pale pink with ribbons of milky white. "Gracie, this is rose quartz," Mitzi exclaims, seemingly knowledgeable about such things. "It's to attract romance and unconditional love." That wasn't quite how Zelda put it, I admit. A deluge of rain lashes the floor-to-ceiling windows. Aside from my skepticism, I don't wish to believe there's a karmic storm brewing over my personal fate. As far as I'm concerned, I've got enough challenges in the here and now. Mitzi returns the stone to me. I drop it inside the pocket of my coat. "Did you hear about Howard?" she whispers, changing the topic. According to the station grapevine, Howard is the latest person to be axed on Titan's chopping block. A cantankerous borderline alcoholic whose show, Nature's Best, had admittedly seen better days, Howard is nonetheless something of an industry legend, having once jived around a live-to-air set as a, thankfully tamed carpet snake chased a lively white mouse up and down inside his corduroy trousers. All of it was filmed in front of an audience of delightedly squealing schoolchildren, and no less a VIP than the highly amused HRH Prince Philip, consort to our lovely Queen. Legend has it Howard overdid his habitual morning vodka before taking to his small stage filled with animals. The mouse escaped the cage, the snake escaped Howard's clutches, the ensuing chase became TV gold at the time. Today, Howard Gladstone is something of a YouTube sensation for generations too young to have seen it first pass. When I first got the job at SC6, he was the only person Jordan asked me about me meeting. "He's gone," Mitzi confirms. "Howard, who'd been here for, ever." I glance around the foyer where, under fluorescent accent lighting, posters of our most popular stars jockey for position. In pride of place on the magenta wall opposite the entrance hangs a full-body shot of Sonia Sokolov, a Russian bombshell in silver spandex who hosts, of all things, our children's cartoon programme. There are multiple pictures of the pale-faced and bushy-eyebrowed youths who present our various music video shows. I'm grateful the promo for my show is positioned down in the basement, outside the studio where we film. One bonus of working at the less illustrious end of the business is that I don't have to see my face, 10 times enlarged and beaming over a bowl of whipped cream, up here on display. In the picture, I'm sporting a stupendously high-peaked white chef's hat I've never once been forced to wear on camera. Not one to play the shrinking violet, here in reception on the back wall in an ornately gilded frame hangs a life-sized oil painting of Zelda. Painted as nude as the day she was born, she's wearing only her gold hoop earrings and a strategically draped plum-coloured silk sheet. In the far corner are black and white photographs of the news crew and of Susie Sunshine, the latest in a long line of attractive weather girls. I'm not making up the name, though Susie might be. Beside Susie is a patch of canary yellow paint that's conspicuously brighter than the rest of the wall, the place where Howard's promo hung for a great many years, until today. Howard may have been a crotchety old goat, but isn't that what television's all about? Personalities, Mitzi proposes. It seems to me profound wisdom for someone reluctantly stuck sitting behind a front desk. I'll miss the old goat nicking my cooking sherry, I say, pricked by an unexpected pang of nostalgia. I will miss chasing Howard out of my studio, him plonking the bottle of fortified wine wherever it lands and cursing me for denying him a drop as I mock-threaten him with my rolling pin. I will miss it all. Not to mention that the forced exit of an industry legend doesn't bode well for my inexperience on a flagging cookery show. A storm is brewing indeed. Drinks are from 6 tonight at the White Horse, Mitzi says. I'll pop by, I say. One last tipple for Howie. Old trouser snake, shouts a baby-faced production assistant as he crosses the room. Chapter 2. From reception, I head directly to the first-floor dressing room. Here, Brendan and Brenda, who ordinarily work for the newsroom, also attend to my hair and makeup each morning. The end result being that I arrive on my cookery set, looking like I too should be shoved into a suit, shunted behind a desk and forced to read auto cues about breaking headlines. As usual, Brendan begins with my tresses. Foregoing a dampening spritz of water, the rain took care of that this morning, he blow-dries my locks with an assortment of brushes. Flicking my long hair up and out, he sets it all with an abomination of holding spray, bouffant style. Meanwhile, I'm browsing recent reports from marketing, hoping to discover something that may cement my success in today's big meeting. So far, there's no silver bullet. Next up is Brenda, who layers on primer, concealer and foundation to my face until I'm slightly tangerine in colour. Bronzed, Gracie, Brenda insists, and then more highlighter on my cheekbones, nose and forehead. Brenda is also favouring a pale coral lipstick that blends in so well with my newly applied skin tone that my respectively plump lips are barely visible. I've been sneakily replacing it with a generous smear of my French kiss pink lip stain before filming commences. On my mobile, I Google what the proper celebrity chefs are up to lately. There's not much help to be gleaned from out there either. It's all restaurant chains and marriages going bust. Not for the first time, I wonder if being a commercially successful television chef isn't more about being in some sort of personal spotlight, the worse the better, and less about food than it ought to be. After about an hour of such pampering, preparing me for the bright lights, I'm sent on my way to my studio in the basement. Unlike the explosion of colour on me personally, the room where we record Gracie Porter's gourmet get-together is painted dull grey and holds only the necessary equipment. There are 2 cameras and a boom microphone, a laptop and a monitor on a table, some other equipment I'm still unfamiliar with, plus a few fold-away chairs. The floor is littered with lengths of looped-up wiring and cables, and spotlights are anchored on the floor and dangle from the ceiling above. The kitchen set itself is dated cream laminate with pine panelling, resurrected after a long hiatus in cookery programmes when I joined. I inherited the electric oven, gas hob and a refrigerator prone to hissy fitting. Only the microwave was purchased new for me. Here in the basement there are no windows and save for a ducted fan above the stove, precious little ventilation, The air becomes stifling once the big lights come on for filming. Working in television is not as glamorous as I once envisioned. But our set is friendly. I very much want to keep my job. I cross the floor towards my assistant, Poppy. Nobody else is here yet. There are two things to notice immediately about Poppy. The first is that she looks like a fairy. Small, delicate frame, disarmingly large hazel eyes, wispy bleach blonde locks, the only aberration being Poppy's naturally dark roots. Poppy's mother is Thai, her father unknown but allegedly Korean, though Poppy insists her only parent is her mother's second husband, Darcy, an Englishman of independent means, who kindly extended parental care after her mother upped and left them both when Poppy was a tender 14 years old. Anyway, Poppy, sweetly dispositioned and seemingly unscarred by such events, also has a penchant for dressing in frilly layers of clothing, and her love of glitter would shame a toddler. The second thing to notice about my assistant is that her vernacular has a tendency towards the same, shall we say, exuberance. "Morning, Miss Gracie!" Poppy chirrups, looking up from where she's wiping the bench clean, preparing for the shoot. "Oh, I see Brenda's using the coral on your lips again, like you're a mermaid. I could call you Ariel." "Morning, Poppy. Please don't call me Ariel." I wipe my lips on the back of my hand. Poppy's eyes twinkle mischievously. I also inherited Poppy. She was working an internship when I joined. 100% reliable and thoroughly committed, fresh out of college, my assistant has a fine diploma in home economics to accompany her sparkly personality. That her stepfather would happily provide so that she'd never have to work at all makes her dedication all the more admirable. If ever Poppy's childish vigour annoys me, her silly garble and excess enthusiasm can wear thin some days, I remind myself I'm lucky to have her. I dump my coat and bags onto a chair. To protect my clothes before filming begins, a personal uniform of black trousers and a white shirt, I don my white chef's apron. My outfit isn't flashy, but given no one at SC6 has ever offered to provide my clothes or advise me on what to wear otherwise, it removes the stress of me having to think about what I ought to be wearing for the camera on a daily basis. I wash my hands thoroughly. Before I forget, I retrieve and apply the pink stain to my lips, and that's when I remember my new shoes. From the bottom of my tote, I pull out a felt bag containing a brand new pair of Jimmy Choo designer heels. Removing layers of tissue paper, I place the shoes lovingly on the floor in front of me. They are, without doubt, the finest things I've ever owned. Silver metallic nappa leather, 100mm high at the heel, closed back with elegant straps of silver inlaid crystals that crisscross over the foot and across the toes. These shoes were a rare splurge of luxury, purchased by me at the end-of-year sale at Selfridges last weekend. I have them with me today because my plan is to have them gently worn in, stumble-free and blister-proof before the big reveal on Valentine's Day. I'm hoping to lose a Christmas pound or two before I shop for a dress. Removing my winter boots and black woolly socks, I slip my bare feet into ultimate designer luxury. "Fa-va-voom!" Poppy croons at my first tentative steps. "Why, thank you, Poppy," I reply, practicing my walk over the concrete floor. The heels are thinner and higher than I've ever worn. That is the plan. A bit of va-va-voom. "For the show today?" Poppy appears confused, as well she might be. "No, for Valentine's Day. For a do at Jordan's work," I say. I thought it best to wear them in first. My left ankle takes a small dive, but I recover neatly. It seems only sensible. On February 14th, the advertising agency where Jordan works is hosting a Sweethearts Valentine's Day ball, sponsored by clients in the business of selling jewellery, chocolates, perfume and the like, gifts that lovers like to exchange on the day. Although Jordan hasn't mentioned it, it is absurd how little we communicate these days. An invitation appeared on our kitchen table last Friday, prompting my shopping spree while he was working at his office on some big commercial shoot. I have exactly 5 weeks to perfect my shimmy in these heels. Presently, I'm walking like a drunk on stilts. If Poppy finds it unromantic that I'll be spending Valentine's Day with my boyfriend's colleagues, she doesn't say. I need to tell you something that happened on set last night, she says instead. Something bad. Smiling awkwardly, Poppy reveals a diamante stuck to her front tooth. Today she's wearing black overalls cut off into short shorts over white woolen tights, with a white top, a pink bolero jacket and Doc Marten boots imprinted with panda bear motifs. Her makeup is a hybrid of Dita Von Teese and Tinkerbell, heavy eyeliner, rosy cheeks and sparkles galore. Her lips are cherubic with nothing but Vaseline smear. There's a funny odour on set. I smelled it the moment I entered. We begin filming in roughly an hour. The crew will arrive at any moment. The stench is dank and salty with a hint of bleach. Poppy is still pulling her funny face. Poppy, has something happened to the seafood? For today's show, I'd sourced a special order of scallops and monkfish from the same supplier to legendary seafood restaurant J. Shiki. As we were wrapping up yesterday, Poppy and I resolved that the ice-packed delivery box ought to make better overnight storage than our clunky old refrigerator. The label guaranteed ocean fresh for 24 hours from delivery. Now that we're discussing it, I don't see the box. The ice melted, Poppy informs me. Apparently the cleaners did some sort of steam cleaning last night. I don't really know what happened, but when I got in this morning, there was stinky rotten fish water everywhere. Oh, heck. I've bleached the entire room. Oh, Poppy, thank you. I had to throw it all into the bin bag out the back. Right. It's too late to order more seafood, and I'd rather not have to nip out to the Tesco on Dean Street in this weather. Time for Plan B. What's Plan B? Poppy asks with more excitement than it deserves. We cobble together whatever ingredients we have to hand, whatever that might be, and then we wing it. The challenge, and by the look on Poppy's face she sees it too, is that our on-premise supplies are perilously low. We only came back to work from the holiday break last week, and recent cost-cutting has started to bite. Our purchase orders aren't always approved. I don't mind buying the odd bits here and there, but who ever heard of a cookery show without any ingredients? That's how it's been since Titan landed on us late last year, with their no-expense-spent policy. On top of which, our diary has been cleared of all off-site filming commitments. Last year we grilled sole with lemon and capers down in Hastings, cooked a lamb roast on a big spit in the Welsh countryside, trekked all the way to Scotland and made properly done haggis, mixed entrails and all. We barbecued organic free-range pork sausages and quinoa vegan burgers across London, everywhere from the Leighton Mills B&Q car park to Richmond Park. None of it was haute cuisine, but it was lovely to connect with people who were right there in front of me as I cooked, rather than having to picture them following me in a future time in a different space via whatever device they happened to be watching on. More often than not, our ratings improved slightly in the weeks we ventured out of our studio. When we returned on set last week, the first instruction we received was that all future out-of-house activities were suspended until further notice. Our marketing cupboard, once filled with nifty kitchen gadgets to give away, is empty, and my inaugural recipe book is on hold. However, when it comes to kitchen emergencies, I consider myself a pro. Catering a wedding banquet in Norfolk, I once stretched half of the smoked chicken appetizers into a main meal of poultry with julienne vegetables after the rib of beef was snatched by the groom's ridiculously short-legged dachshund. In a food crisis, I can excel. What have we got to hand, Poppy? Poppy opens the freezer. We have frozen prawns. I peek inside the brown paper bag that the boys from Science Lab judiciously left for us yesterday. Inside are genetically modified chilies that will no doubt blow our heads off if we dare to eat them. We have chilies. They'll be far too hot to eat, Poppy objects. I remind her that we cook for TV. Nobody has to eat them. Poppy, tell me we have rice. Poppy ducks her head into the food cupboard. We have rice, and tomato sauce, and tapioca flour, a can of butter beans, some crushed garlic, rice flour, preserved lemons, coconut milk. I hear Poppy scraping tins and jars around. I open the fridge. We still have the spinach, cream and sweet potatoes I had planned to serve with the medley of glazed scallops with chili jam for starters and oven-baked monkfish for the main. Pass me the rice, the butter beans and the garlic, please, Poppy, and the tomato sauce. That's what I've been left to work with. Staples. With my hand, I guide Poppy to get out of the cupboard without banging her head. I do another memory check of dishes I've tried, tested and mastered over the years. OK, how about we form some vegan scallopy things out of these butter beans, and for the main, we'll coat the prawns in these chilies, tomato sauce and garlic for a dish I call cheating hot sticky prawns. Poppy looks aghast. Cheating, Miss Gracie? Because it's easy, Poppy. Only we'll be wiser. Well then, it sounds perfect. It's hardly perfect. The frozen prawns are, 1, frozen, and 2, not of the size or plumpness I'd prefer. The dishes are especially not what I'd have chosen for what may yet be my swan song on the small screen, depending how the day pans out. But it will pass as a seafood-ish extravaganza, as I'd promised viewers on the closing of our last recorded episode, and anything vegan is more popular by the day. Given the time we have, it will do. From down the corridor, I hear the crew making their way towards our studio. Let's go for it, Poppy. The show must go on. Poppy flashes her diamante smile. I beam my pearly whites. Fake it till you make it, I concede. I hope, charmingly. Chapter 3. The moment we wrap the shoot, I throw up in front of everyone and over poor Poppy's feet. I blame the stress of the last-minute change in menu and the big meeting looming. In about an hour's time, there's every chance I could lose my job. The crew blame the lingering smell of rancid seafood. I've never seen the set clear so fast. Only Poppy, her panda-festooned boots splattered with my sick, stays put to help. Miss Gracie, you go on to the bathroom and sort yourself out, she insists. Usually we clear up together and spend the afternoon ordering ingredients, sketching out future shows or completing paperwork with Robin. Today there's nothing to prepare for. If I don't survive the meeting, our show is toast. I insist I really must clean up my own vomit. Go on! You need to sort yourself out before you meet with those execs, Poppy counters, escorting me out of the studio door. You do it for me. I would do the same for Poppy, even if I'd perhaps start retching myself. I'll come find you when I'm done. I make my way to the ladies. In front of the mirror, I see why my assistant was so keen to send me off. I look like death warmed up. My skin is sickly green. My lips, the pink stain wiped off with some kitchen towel, are not far off the same shade. My mascara is so smudged around my eyes looks like hollow pits of black. I'd wiped my brow after chopping up the mega-hot chilies and barely held back burning tears during the recording. Inspecting my reflection closely, I discover my very first grey hair. Oh, when it rains, it pours. I pull it out sharply. No one is in here to see me in such a decrepit state, but this could change at any moment. The door to the cleaner's cupboard ajar, it seems a better place for me to recover in private. I poke my head through the opening. Inside, the shelves are lined with cleaning products, A broom and a mop inside a steel bucket are propped against one wall, a small stepladder in the centre. On every surface, the paint is peeling. I tug a cord and the light overhead flickers on. I do a quick check for spiders. All clear. Stepping in, I sit gingerly on the top rung of the little ladder. I pull the heavy fireproof door shut. It's very cramped in here. The smell of disinfectant is overwhelming. What on earth am I doing hiding in a cupboard? Taking my mobile from my handbag, I call Jordan. His mobile rings out, unanswered. "Jordan Piper," he answers after the first ring to his work line. "Jordan, hi, it's me. Can you talk?" I wait for my boyfriend to make the usual excuse of running late for a meeting or being just in the middle of something. Instead, I'm greeted with a cheery, "Grace, hey, I'm here." Jordan calls me Grace, as do my parents. I find it endearing that he calls me by my proper name. To everyone else, I'm Gracie. It's a welcome surprise that he seems happy to hear from me. "Jordan, thank heavens," I say, relieved. It's all Jordan needs to take me completely the wrong way. "What's up now?" Jordan's swift impatience is palpable, as if I only ever call him with problems, which isn't true. These days, I hardly dare call my boyfriend at all. "Nothing's up, Jordan," I reply, just as curt. Hurt, to be precise. But since you ask, my shoot today was a disaster. The seafood was off, I got chilli in my eyes, which stung like hell. Then, to top things off, I vomited all over Poppy right in front of everyone at the moment we finished recording. I don't know why I'm fine telling Jordan I vomited over someone, but I do not, under any circumstance, desire him to know my hair is turning grey. "You mean you ate off seafood?" Jordan says. "No, Jordan, I did not." I swipe back at him, swallowing an acrid taste of sickness in my mouth. In the background at his office, I hear banter. Our conversations are never helped by Jordan's office being rife with mostly young, attractive females, all of them partial to eavesdropping, many of whom, as bulimics, also often happen to smell like spew. "Jordan, I have the meeting at work today with the new owners," I remind him. "I'm so nervous I think I've made myself ill." For some time, there's no response. Then, laughing heartily, Jordan screams into my ear, "Boom!" Jordan isn't listening to me. The background noise fades. The phone is covered over his end of the line. I sit alone on the little ladder inside the cupboard in the toilets at work. In the flickering light, the crystals on my new designer heels sparkle prettily. This Valentine's Day, I'd hoped a perfect outfit might make all the difference. In my heart, I'd imagined we might put the sparkle back into our relationship. Now I'm less sure. Even when things were good between us, socialising with Jordan's colleagues was a challenge for me. I get on famously with his creative partner Robert. A good thing given the amount of time Robert spends in my basement at home, messing about with Jordan. And no, absolutely not in that way. And the other girlfriends who sometimes join the Baker and Staines gatherings are friendly enough. But the girls who work in Jordan's office, they're quite another experience. No matter how hard I've tried to fit in, they've made no effort to include me. Jordan insists he doesn't know what I mean by this, to which I'm unable to state exactly what I'd like them to do. Ask for my number and invite me to dinner? Of course not. But it's tricky, sometimes, with girls who spend more time with my boyfriend than I do. What I'd like is for them to make me feel welcome, rather than as if I'm stomping uninvited onto their territory. At the last event, a cocktail evening in Shoreditch 2 months ago, I gave up trying. While Jordan was busy networking with people he sees every day at his office, I propped up the bar with Robert. I sipped deliciously minty mojitos. Robert drained a good too many dirty martinis. It probably bears mentioning that Robert looks a lot like the boyishly handsome comedian Jack Whitehall, with all of the charisma. Also, that Robert is impeccably attentive, in a purely gentlemanly way, to me at such events. We get on fabulously. Together we got rollicking drunk. I maintained some level of decorum. Robert got so sloshed he toppled right off the back of his stool, causing quite the commotion. As a swarm of scantily dressed media assistants swooned to his aid, he slurred in my ear he doesn't think much of the emaciated little twits himself. Stung by their rejection, I laughed too heartily. Under other circumstances, I would have loved to be whooping it up with the girls. "Jordan, can you hear me?" No reply. When Jordan and I first got together, we were always talking. And when we weren't talking, things were even sweeter, if you know what I mean. Now, apart from us not getting on well, the spontaneous can't get enough of each other shagging that defined the beginning of our relationship has disintegrated into carnal abstinence. My boyfriend and I no longer have sex. We've been this way for months. Jordan blew out the flame. He just stopped making the moves on me. Afraid of rejection, I followed his lead. Neither of us has mentioned a word about it. Which is why I'm really rather miffed that last night Jordan went to the trouble of wearing his underpants to bed, where usually he sleeps butt naked. Things are so uncomfortable between us, I had to sneak a surreptitious glance to check, but they were ugly green underpants at that. The tacky 5 pairs to a packet elasticized style of undies I wasn't aware my boyfriend even owned. I was mortified to think Jordan might have worn them as a defensive shroud for his privates. As if by depriving me of sex and sleeping next to me without them, I might otherwise jump on top of his flaccid penis without a moment's notice. Last night I lay next to him feeling insecure, and though I'd done nothing other than hope that he might desire me once more, foolish. Now, more than worrying why my boyfriend no longer fancies the pants off me, Jordan is starting to make me perpetually cross. "Jordan, I'm in a cupboard," I say. Against my ear, my mobile is getting hot. "What?" "I'm in a cupboard, Jordan, so we can talk." I raise my leg to the bottom rung of the ladder, suddenly fearful of what 6 or 8-legged creatures might be lurking in the corners on the floor. Right now, I need my boyfriend to assure me that no matter what happens with the future of my show today, he'll be there for me. "Grace, I'm at work, I can't talk. I'm sorry you were sick. Are you feeling better?" Jordan is intent on wrapping things up. I'm worried sick about this meeting. "I'm sure you'll be fine." The line is temporarily muffled before Jordan screams into my ear, "Sex sells!" Presumably not at me. Nonetheless, "Jordan, I host a cookery show. I hardly think that adage applies." And he can talk. Jordan calls to someone in his office. "Of course, the hot one!" "Jordan!" In the background, a giggling female also calls out to my boyfriend. I hang up. Jordan and I met the same day I landed the job with SC6. For years, I've been working long hours in hot kitchens for pitiful pay. My best friend Faith spotted the advertisement. Chef wanted for daily television cookery programme, media skills preferred. I protested I'd not so much as stepped foot in front of a television camera. Faith reminded me I'd been the face of the British Good Food and Wine Festival a decade previously. She went on about me being a natural-born entertainer. I reminded her that during such entertainment, the consumption of alcohol often plays a pivotal role. Faith encouraged me to go for it anyway. So I did. I almost couldn't believe I landed the job. I'm sure it helped that the only qualified competition was a lard-obsessed LBC food critic and a Marco Pierre White apprentice with oily dreadlocks. Apparently, all other applicants that wanted to be on television had no culinary experience whatsoever. When the station signed me up, I was elated. Faith and I celebrated madly. She arrived from her city job to the Notting Hill bistro where I worked around 9 p.m. We were closing last orders. Effortlessly glamorous, tall, thin, blonde and very pretty, with an electric personality, Faith whooshed in wearing a typically expensive tailored black trouser suit, her décolletage highlighted by the plunging neckline of her jacket. Greeting my colleagues with hugs and kisses, she insisted we celebrate my new success together with champagne. I'd only just handed in my notice. Such was Faith's energy that everyone, including my boss, downed tools for a short toast to my future success on television before she and I continued on into town. By the time we hit the West End clubs, I was sufficiently inebriated to hit the dance floor like I was Kylie Minogue in those signature gold hot pants, wearing, I must point out, my dark denim jeans. Grinding myself against the delightfully toned and debaucherously topless hunks in the club on Old Compton Street, it mattered not that my gorgeous fans were all fabulously not my way inclined. To my booty-swinging Shakira moves, they were my Ricky Martin partners in crime. From the side where she was watching our drinks and resting her feet, Faith laughed and cheered. I first met Jordan during a small break from such frivolities. Spotting a surly but incredibly sexy-looking lad by the exit, I boorishly asked if he was too straight to move his booty. I was pleasantly taken aback when he answered most tersely, "Actually, yes." Over several gin and tonics, Jordan told me he was in the advertising game and in the club to entertain the editors of a men's fashion magazine, all of them out and proud homosexuals. I found it endearing when he waved awkwardly at his bare-chested clients as they gave it their all under the whirling glitter balls. If only I'd known Jordan's work obsession would become the bane of our future relationship. Wearing black jeans and a blue Paul Smith shirt, in the dim of the club especially, he was the epitome of tall, dark and handsome. And my oh my was he brooding. Full of alcohol and bravado about my new career in television, I did the unthinkable. I made the first move. I asked Jordan if he'd like to come and dance with me. Throwing me his sexy scowl, Jordan declined. "Not here," I boldly suggested. "Perhaps at my place?" Jordan smiled. It was that easy. Our sex that night was a solid 10, the best I'd ever had. Jordan may not have wanted to dance, but between the sheets the man had moves. For what felt like hours, he directed all of his passion onto me. Then, confidently, he guided me as to exactly what he wanted for himself. I saw fireworks. It had been so long since I'd been with anyone. I rarely fancied anyone. I almost never took the risk of checking if they fancied me back. Not once had I picked up someone I'd just met in a club and taken them home with me. Afterwards, Jordan held me in his arms. I rested my head onto his chest. Conversation flowed. Our passion came in waves. I was instantly smitten. If you'll pardon the pun, Jordan was very much into me too. We spent the following day together. The next evening after work, same again. Night after night we repeated. Jordan never really left. Within the month he'd officially moved out of his Willesden house share and into my Maid of Ale flat, just the two of us. Filming commenced on my cookery show the following week. I believed I'd made it. The job, the man, the life. What a difference it all is today. In the cupboard, the light overhead has stopped flickering. It's better for my nausea, but the crystals on my new shoes have lost their sparkly lustre. I can't keep pretending nothing is wrong in my relationship. Pretending isn't making anything better. Somewhere in my silence, I'm losing more than just my voice. I call Jordan back on his mobile. "Grace, did you hang up on me?" "Sorry, you seem busy, Jordan," I say. "I'm at work." Jordan sounds busy but not cross. Or maybe I can't tell the difference anymore. "Of course, Jordan, I'll be quick." "Please, it's not a good time." It never is. Jordan gets in late from his office, and usually he heads straight down into our basement, more often than not with Robert in tow. My offers of sausage rolls and other home-baked snacks are well received. but it's clear I'm not welcome to loiter. Most of the time they're not even working. They're playing an awful zombie apocalypse game that hurts my ears from wherever I am inside the flat. I'm curious to know when exactly is a good time for me to interrupt my boyfriend. Jordan, did you feel compelled to wear your underpants to bed last night? I ask. Or did you just, forget to undress properly? I swear to you it slips out. For some time there's a silence that neither of us fills. Grace, I really haven't got time for this. Jordan, I know. When Jordan hangs up, my tears are streaming. There isn't a mega hot chili in sight. Chapter 4. I stay put on the ladder for some time after the phone call with Jordan ends. I can't believe I phoned my boyfriend at his work to talk about his underwear. I hope Jordan has the decency not to mention the specifics to anyone. With some of the office gossip he's repeated to me, I can't be sure he won't. However, now is not the time to be skulking in a cleaner's cupboard with remorse. I have a meeting to attend on which my job depends. The clock is ticking. I'm back in front of the basins when Poppy floats in. There you are, you disappeared. I look for you in here. I look for you everywhere, she says. Miss Gracie, are you okay? Bare-legged in her cut-off overalls, Poppy must have disposed of her vomit-soiled tights, her boots wiped clean. I honestly don't know how she manages to be so nice to me. I'm okay, Poppy. Albeit I look worse than before. In the mirror, I see my complexion has reddened from deathly pale to scarlet. Mascara streaks now run down my cheeks. My hair is plastered in sweaty patches against my scalp, as if I'm suffering from an exotic tropical disease. I'd go home if I didn't have this bloody meeting. Obviously, I look a sight. Are you well enough to make this meeting? Poppy asks, concerned. Poppy doesn't need to know I'm more emotionally upset than physically ill at this point. She's a sweet kid, but I don't share intimate details of my personal life with her. I don't need her to know about my problems with Jordan. I'll make the meeting and I'll do my absolute best. I know this all very much affects you and the crew too, Poppy. A burden I'm carrying seriously. That's very sweet, Miss Gracie, but we'll be all right, Poppy insists. We're worker bees. Lots of people are leaving voluntarily. Titan will move us to another show if it comes to that, which it won't. Let's get this face sorted for you. Poppy jiggles what appears to be a cosmetic bag she has in hand. My magic bag of tricks, she says. The bag is emblazoned with hologram images of Astro Boy rocketing through space. I assess the array of makeup on Poppy's face. It's a look she can get away with. Sort of. I most certainly cannot. However, neither can I meet with those impeccably groomed Americans in my current dishevelled state. Poppy's favourite DJ plays the late set at a Brixton club on Sunday evenings, beginning at the ridiculous time of around midnight. She's well regarded for appearing as fresh as a daisy every Monday regardless. Perhaps in this instance she is best placed. It's that or I take my chances back with Brenda, who certainly does my face no favours. A bit less of the magic, Poppy, and I might be persuaded. The meeting starts at 3, you don't have long. Perhaps I should have requested David Blaine levels of magic. Poppy plonks me atop the rubbish bin as a makeshift seat, out of eyeline of any of the mirrors. You relax here. First, Poppy dabs my eyes dry with a piece of tissue. Then, with a wet wipe that smells of cucumber, she removes all remnants of Brenda's professionally applied makeup. With her face right up close to mine, I notice the eyeliner that Poppy's wearing extends dramatically almost to her temples. Possibly no eyeliner, if you wouldn't mind? I'll keep it all very subtle. Poppy smiles wryly. I do know you. I agree to let her get on with her ministrations. Dipping in and out of her little bag to retrieve tubes and pallets of shimmery creams and powders, Poppy blends, dabs, brushes and sets my face. She finishes applying a second coat of black mascara. "Your eyes are especially lovely today," she tells me. "Are they by any chance violet?" I inquire, perking up a bit. Poppy inspects closely. "No, blue. Super duper shiny blue." The upside of tears, presumably. I sit quietly on the bin lid. With her fingers, Poppy loosens my hair from the stronghold of Brendan's spray. When I ask her to check, I'm relieved she can't see any more grey strands. Stepping back, Poppy gives me a good once-over before she proclaims boldly of her handiwork, "You look stunning." With remarkable vigour for a girl so slight, she heaves me up from the top of the bin and plonks me in front of the mirror. "Look." By the glitter over Poppy's face, I'm afraid to look. When I brave my reflection, it's a pleasant surprise. My eyes are clear, bright and super shiny indeed. My skin is radiant with just a hint of rosy gorgeousness. You'd never guess I'd spent the best part of 10 minutes sobbing to myself inside a cupboard. I check again, scrupulously. Highlighted by silvery blue shadows and mascara piled as thick as you like, my pupils are what I'd confidently describe as iridescently lilac. My lips are so glossily delicious I almost want to snog myself. Most miraculously, Poppy has given me the appearance of jutting cheekbones. "Poppy, how did you do this?" I ogle my reflection, unabashed as Poppy watches me grinning. "Actually, don't tell me. It might spoil the magic." "Thank you, thank you, thank you." I'm assailing Poppy with my linguistic zeal when she interrupts to remind me that this isn't the time to be indulging her. "Don't forget your meeting starts shortly," she says, tapping a steady finger against her fuchsia-banded glow-in-the-dark, I'm sure she explained to me once, wristwatch. Despite my seriously hot new look, I shiver. Moments later, I find Faith in the corridor searching for me. "Weren't we meeting at your studio?" She kisses me on both cheeks. "Darling, you look amazing." It is amazing what a makeover can do for a woman. All thanks to Poppy. When Faith appears surprised, I acknowledge, "I know, but voila!" I flash a $1 million smile. "Stunning," Faith confirms. Faith and I have known each other since primary school, before her breasts and my hips swelled.